Okay, so week 6 in EDUA 588, getting there. This week we're reading chapters 11 and 12 in our book, mostly concentrating on ASB and transportation. Not a lot on transportation you're going to need to know, but a little bit. So ASB is constituted just like a business would be. So there would be a constitution and a purpose for it. You need to have minutes. You can't just make up stuff for ASB. You've got to have minutes and a procedure for expenditures. A lot of other clubs are underneath ASB, and so those clubs have to submit a budget and have it pre-approved. They can't just spend money and say, hey, I need $50 for this. A lot of legal paperwork with ASB, kind of like running a small business, and that's what you got to think of it about is, people giving you money, they want to see how it's being, it's not just a private spending account for teachers and kids, it's a business that you show how you're spending it, what it's for, did you get the receipt for it, how did you put that in the book. You can't just write it out for cash, you've got to write it out to the person it actually goes to. So Sam's silkscreen shirts, if you're making shirts for your club. But think of it as a business and not just as a spending account, because that's where people get themselves in trouble with ASB, and it's a really fast way to lose your job because people don't take it seriously. Just think of it as in you never want to be alone with the money. Even as a teacher, you don't ever want to be alone with the money. You want to have somebody there counting it with you, bringing it with you to the office, having it locked up, making sure there are 2 signatures on the cash form if you have cash. But Joe, always making sure that you can back up what you say has happened. That's pretty easy. There's also a part in here about charging fees. I know that lots of places charge them. They're illegal. We can't do it. Now we can say, if you want to go with us to the tar pits, we'll take a donation of $2. You can ask for a donation, but for those kids that can't pay, you can't tell them they can't go. And you can't say it's a requirement. Everybody doesn't have to pay. That includes art classes. That includes cheerleading. And I paid thousands and thousands of dollars for my girls to do cheerleading. But it's illegal. Now, I also know that if you don't pay the money, they're not going to get you new uniforms, and they're not going to be able to travel, because what will happen is the district will say, we don't have money for you to go to the games, so none of you can go, unless you can, have your parents go. So if you want to have them go on those trips, then either boosters have to help raise the money for it. ESB will give them a little bit of a budget, but those fees that we charge, and sometimes we rely on, they're illegal. And so when you're the principal, make sure that it's very clear that it is a donation, and that you don't make kids do fundraising unless they want to. It's voluntary. I know when my kids were on the swim team, one of the things that we would do is work in the fireworks booth. We could have fireworks in Palmdale, and we raised a lot of money. But if you work so many hours, then that bought your kid their swimsuit and their parka for when they got out of the pool, and it bought them a towel. If you didn't have those things done through fundraising, then you had to pay for them. But if you had a kid that couldn't pay, you couldn't make them pay that, and they'd still get, at least they get a swimsuit. They may not get a parka, but they get a swimsuit. Get whatever they needed to be on the team to participate. All right. Also, the other chapter is on transportation. And in California, we don't really transport that many children, not like other states do. We're not that rural, for one thing. A lot of kids are close enough to the school to walk. We keep increasing walking distances, which kind of makes it a little bit harder too. And the same thing for that. If you can charge a transportation fee, but if a family is too poor to pay, like they're on free and reduced food, then they don't have to pay. So it's probably not good to say, hey, Johnny, you have to pay, and Mary, you don't have to pay. It's probably easier just not to make anybody pay, because then you get really mad parents in your office. Why am I paying? I'm paying taxes, and I'm paying a transportation fee. Gets those middle-class people a little bit ticked. All right, you've got that budget. Oh, you have your ASB paragraph due this week. It's due at 6 o'clock on Friday. Remember, it's a paragraph. Shows me that you've read the manual. Don't have to go into a lot of detail. I don't need 3 pages. A paragraph is good. If you wrote 3 pages, I'll read 3 pages, but you don't have to. And you don't have to include references. You don't have to do it in, have a cover page and all that kind of stuff. Just write a paragraph and turn it into me. All right, your budget presentation. I was thinking about this, and you need to make sure that you're covering the things that are in LCFF. So you want to have part of your budget talk about what's in your base. What are you allocating for every single child in your school? Is it that every classroom will have supplies, because that affects every kid? Is it that you're going to buy enough paper? Custodial supplies, those are in the base grant. What about your PBIS program, positive behavior support, or maybe you do restorative justice on your campus? That's for every single kid. You can fund that from the base. Then when you move up to your supplemental grant, how are you servicing your foster children, your EL children, your children in poverty? What are you doing special for them that helps them keep up with everybody else? And you're going to have to show that. Maybe you're buying part of a counselor, so that those kids that have problems with suspensions or getting into trouble, you're providing that just for them to help them with social skills. Maybe you're doing interventions for your EL kids, Imagine Learning, or some kind of different EL program that's going to help them learn English at a faster rate. And then you've got your concentration grant, if you get it. I know some of you don't. And what are you doing for those most needy kids, those kids on Tier 3? What are you doing for them that's different than for Tier 1 and Tier 2? If you're also at a high school, remember, you're going to talk about pathways, because you've got those pathway requirements. So do you have a specialized track for kids? Do you have a medical track, an environmental science track? What are you doing that's different at your school? Because that is a requirement now of California schools, that you're doing something to get kids on a pathway to a career or college. And also, how are you helping kids get those A through G requirements? All right, you're almost done. I'll see you online this week. If you have any questions or concerns, call me or text me or email me, and have a great week.